here we are again. In this lesson, we will continue with our current assessment by performing the internal analysis. In the previous lesson, we emphasized the importance of the industry. However, as we all know, even in the most brutal of competitive industries, there exist shining examples of companies who find ways to make economic profits. And they pull this off by finding profitable segments of the value chain and developing competitive advantage. Now, competitive advantage is like a special power possessed by the company that no one else has been able to duplicate. With that introduction, let's look into this further. The purpose of internal analysis is to identify the strengths and weaknesses which will help round out our SWOT analysis. Think of a corporate or functional resource as an asset, competency, process, skill, or knowledge controlled by the company. If the resource is a strength, it can provide the company with competitive advantage. And it's a weakness if it's done poorly, not at all, or something that our competitors can do better than us. Vireo analysis evaluates your corporate resources against 4 criteria: value, rareness, imitatability, and organization. If the answers to each of these Vireo questions is yes, then that resource is considered to be a strength, and sometimes it's called a distinctive competence. Distinctive competencies are those competencies that a company possesses that are superior to its competitors, whereas a core competency, a similar concept, is used to signify those things that a company does exceedingly well. The sustainability of competitive advantage is determined by its durability and its imitatability. Durability speaks to the rate at which the underlying resource or capability depreciates or becomes obsolete over time. Imitatability is the rate at which the competitors can copy the distinctive competence through reverse engineering, hiring the company's employees, or other measures. A distinctive competence can be imitated if it's transparent, transferable, or replicable. Explicit knowledge, which is knowledge that can be easily understood, is easy to imitate, whereas tacit knowledge is not easily copied because it is deeply rooted in the employee experience or corporate culture. An industry can be analyzed in terms of the profit margin available at any point along the value chain. Often, revenues and profits vary greatly between the different segments of the value chain, and it's important to know where money is made. For example, in the auto industry, the OEMs garner the highest proportion of the revenues. However, it's the after-service and financing segments of the value chain that enjoy the highest profits. Your strategy development team can analyze the value chain to identify where its primary activities lie and where in the value chain the company has the greatest expertise and competence. Growing the business backward or forward is called vertical integration, and it makes sense to reduce costs, guarantee access to key raw materials, or to guarantee distribution channels. A company also has an internal value chain, such as depicted here. Now, reviewing the value chain from this perspective can help identify the company's strengths and weaknesses as well. Examine the value chain for each product and service, and identify the areas of strength and weakness to determine if any are indicative of a distinctive competency. Also look for linkages and synergies between the various functional areas, business units, and product lines. This too can evolve into a distinctive competency. Let's talk about some of those areas of distinctive competency that you may find within your company. Corporate culture gives a company a sense of identity, measured in terms of the intensity and the integration. Now, intensity of corporate culture speaks to the degree to which corporate culture is ingrained in the workforce. Power utilities often have a health and safety driven culture. I remember showing up at meetings where there's always somebody with a roll of duct tape to make sure that we're taping down all the power cords in the meeting rooms. Strong cultural intensity results in the employees showing consistent behavior over time. Now, cultural integration represents the breadth of cultural adoption across the enterprise, meaning that all the employees hold the same cultural values. Now, market position can also be a source of strength. We all know companies that find themselves in sweet spots, offering the right products to the right customer at the right price. The availability and the cost of financing can be a source of strength or weakness. Financial strength gives the company an ability to pursue more strategic options and compete more rigorously for strategic acquisitions than a company with a weak financial position. Research and development vary significantly between industries. However, you can still evaluate it on the basis of both the development and use of innovative technology. A rule of thumb is that a company should spend at least as much as the industry average on R&D initiatives. So spending alone is not an indication of strength, but it could be one of weakness. To assess strength, research and development should be evaluated on the technology transfer of new initiatives from the lab to commercialization. So you may look at the number of patents acquired as a good measure of research and development activity. Research and development activity can also relate either to product-related development, for example, new products, or process-related research and development. So improvements to the manufacturing process as well. So you'll keep these kind of items in mind as well. Operating capabilities vary between industry participants based on the dimensions of cost, quality, and efficiency. So understanding our competitiveness is crucial from this perspective as well. The experience curve suggests that our unit production costs decline by some fixed percentage, commonly understood to be 20 to 30%, but this varies by industry. Each time, the accumulated value of production in unit terms doubles. Some companies are just really good at integrating new technology and developing new products, giving it a source of competitive advantage. And finally, we can achieve sources of competitive advantage from economies of scale or economies of scope. And economies of scale are achieved when we have a reduction in unit costs by producing larger numbers of the same products. Economies of scope are where we're able to reduce unit costs by using common parts in the manufacturing activities, even though we're producing a variety of products. Now, human resource practices can be a source of competitive advantage. For example, the use of autonomous self-managing work teams and cross-functional work teams have worked well in many large organizations, whereas other organizations find themselves held back by aggressive work-to-rule type unions. Diversity policies is another area of human resource practices that companies are experimenting with to develop competitive advantage. So, for instance, having a policy alone may not be enough. There must be real value creation from embracing diversity before you can identify this as a competitive advantage. And finally, take a look at your information technology. This could either be a strength or a weakness. Consider the level of automation used in the business processes, the data analysis, the operations, marketing, supply chain management, e-commerce, and knowledge management. Your strategic toolkit, which you would have downloaded from the financelearningacademy.com in the Resource Center, contains a checklist of consider points to help you identify your internal areas of competitive advantage. And once identified, you can use the same basic table as we use to summarize our external analysis to identify the key strengths and weaknesses. The process for completion of the template is exactly the same. Identify the 8 to 10 most important strengths and weaknesses, weigh each of these factors, and rate each of them in terms of how well management is positioned to capitalize on this strength or minimize this weakness. The overall score can be instructive when compared year over year, or between businesses or product lines, or against your competitors. By the time you've completed both your internal and your external analysis, you will now have an overall snapshot of the business. So we have now completed our SWOT analysis. And this will be the starting point for strategy development. But that's a story for our next lesson. So until then, don't stop till you get to the top. When you get to the top, don't stop.